Good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday, May 8th, at regular city commission meeting. We will get this started by the roll call, please.
Mayor Skidmore,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Allen, Commissioner Kaler,
Present.
Commissioner Clayton, and Commissioner Crowley.
Present.
Wonderful. We do have a quorum this afternoon, so thank you all for coming into the gallery here to watch the meeting as well as watching on social media. So we'll get started with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by Nathan O'Rourke, our chaplain for the Ottawa Fire and Ottawa Police Chief. Thank you. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I was told I have a half an hour. Is that true? No, I'm just kidding. I've just got a few moments here, but I just wanted to let you know just a little bit of what's going on with the police and the fire. I've been the chaplain, I guess, unofficially since December this 2024, officially since, I guess, March of this year. So it's been a joy to work with the fire guys and with the police guys. They've just been an awesome crew to work with, and there's all different things that I do with them, but I won't share all those with you, but it's been great to get to know them. I do have 6 kids, so I have 5 girls and 1 boy, so pray for me as I pray for you. So, but it's awesome, and I am a assistant pastor over at Calvary Baptist Church and work with the community, with the teenagers, a lot of teenagers in the community, and then with a lot of college students, so absolutely love it. Let's pray. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to be here today. Lord, we thank you for each one of these civil servants that are willing to give of their time, Lord, and to be able to work in our community and help our community, Lord, be better. And I pray that you would protect, Lord, our firefighters, protect our police officers. Lord, we pray that you would allow them to have good mental health, that you would strengthen them. And Father, I pray as a community that we would come behind them and that we would encourage them. And Lord, that we would be part of their team. And Father, I do thank you for the many blessings you've given us. Thank you for the safety you gave our city with these past storms. And Lord, I pray that you would continue to, Lord, allow us to see your blessing upon our lives and our city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Nathan. I appreciate that. Glad to have part of it, our city, and also what you're doing for our community. So thank you very much. And yeah, we'll be praying for 6 children, you say, right? Wow. Okay. We'll move on to the public comments. Do we have any today?
We have none registered.
Okay, we'll move on to appointments, proclamations, which we got quite a few of. And so we will start off with a proclamation recognizing May 10th, 2024 as Provider Appreciation Day. Michelle Williams and Emerald Learning Center will accept the proclamation, but first we will have it read by Commissioner Crowley.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Child Care Aware of America and other organizations nationwide are recognizing child care providers on this day. And whereas child care has provided a safe, nurturing place for the enrichment and development of millions of children nationwide and is a vital force in our economy. And whereas the pandemic illuminated how indispensable child care providers are for the well-being and economic security of Ottawa's young children, families, and community. And whereas child care programs, which are mostly small businesses, run and staffed predominantly by women, continue to recover from the health and financial hardships stemming from the pandemic to meet the needs of more families. And whereas the City of Ottawa recognizes that child care has been and continues to be a lifeline for families, the community, and the economy. And whereas the future depends on the quality of the early childhood experiences provided to young children today, support for high-quality child care represents a worthy commitment to our children's future. Therefore, we, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, do hereby proclaim May 10th, 2024 to be Provider Appreciation Day in the City of Ottawa and urges citizens to recognize child care providers for their important work and their value to our community. Signed this 8th day of May 2024 by our Mayor, Michael Skidmore.
Sign that for us. Okay, do we have Michelle with his with today? Okay, we'll meet you up here in the front.
I thought he handed me a third one. I was like, oh my God. You want to read one? Sure. Come on, man.
I just want to thank everybody for this. This is something that's needs to be brought up a lot more. Childcare is really in dire need in our county, and so to have this, I hope it brings more attention to childcare and to all of us that work really hard to take care of young children every day. So I just want to thank you guys. Thank you.
Well, and thank you for your service and your work. I know that's a challenge sometimes. I substitute taught for kindergartners one day, and I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that again or not. That was quite a circus. But believe me, when you have a lot of the kids to deal with, and how important it is to not only just give them child care, but also education as well, that was an important aspect of it. And this is a nationwide problem, it sounds like. I read in the paper or other locations, everybody seems to be having an issue with getting appropriate child care. And the cost is just, wow, it's shocking to me as well when I see that. So, but anyway, pay attention to that, Chaplain. 6 kids with child care costs, be prepared. May need a second job. But nonetheless, I think it's a very important aspect. We can't forget we got to educate our children. We got to get them up to speed before they can get to school, and what you do. And I appreciate very much your dedication and devotion to that area. So thank you all for being here. So thank you. Move on to proclamation recognizing May 9 through 18 as National Police Week, and Chief Weingarten will accept this proclamation. And we're short of help up here, so I'll read that one here. Here we go. National Police Week. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, about 12% are women, including the dedicated members of the Ottawa Police Department. And whereas on average 55,000 law enforcement officers are assaulted each year, resulting in 16,200 injuries. Whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, over 26,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and died in the line of duty, including Captain Robert C. Cowden of the Ottawa Police Department, who died in 1963. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C. And whereas nearly 200 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 223 officers who died in the line of duty in 2023. And whereas the sacrifice and the service of all the officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2024 in Washington, D.C., and on the evening of May 2nd, 2024 at the State of Kansas Law Enforcement Memorial in Topeka, Kansas. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of the National Police Week, which takes place this year on May 9 through 18, 2024, therefore it be resolved that the City Commission formally designates May 9 through 18, 2024 as Police Week in the City of Ottawa, Kansas, and publicly salutes the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in our communities across the nation. Signed this day, 8th May 2024, by myself, Mike Skidmore, and Chief, come forward. I know you got a few words, Chief, so thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, and all the city staff and people in the audience today and joining us online as we celebrate and recognize the exceptional work of our officers every single day, but certainly no more so than those that have made the ultimate sacrifice with their life, serving their communities. 1963, Captain Robert Bob Cowden with the Ottawa Police Department died in the line of duty while helping quell a riot in Garnett, Kansas, as officers from Ottawa went down there to assist. His name is inscribed and enshrined in the memorial in Washington, D.C. When I was there in 2014 and 2015, I took one of this pencil etchings that you can do and have his name, and I have his card in my office, and it's on my shelf every day as a reminder of how critical and important it is, and the payment that comes with doing this job. We accept the responsibility and the honor of getting to serve our communities, leaving our homes and families every day knowing that that may be the last day and we don't get to come home. We hope those days never come, but certainly from the numbers represented here, we know it does happen across communities in the United States every single day. The police memorial service in Topeka this year was a little bit early, but it did take place during the Kansas Association of Chiefs of Police Week Conference. I attended the Valor Banquet at that conference, of which about 500 attendees recognized the exceptional service and work of law enforcement officers from across the state, including one in our state that was recognized with the Chiefs Award for giving his life in Fairway, Kansas last year during a criminal incident. It means a lot to us that you recognize this week, not only for us, but all the law enforcement officers across the country. And we just look forward to celebrating the support that we get from this community. We are so fortunate to serve in Ottawa. You know, you hear some of the national narratives of what communities and their relationships are with police. And I can only tell you my personal experiences is that I can't go anywhere in this community where somebody doesn't come up and thank me for our service and the work that the law enforcement officers do. So Ottawa is a great community to work in. It's a supportive community, and certainly that support comes from you as well. So I want to thank you for that. I do want to add, because I know I'm up next on the next proclamation, and these are going to tie together. So if you will, bear with me just for a moment, as this digresses a little bit, but is important to Police Week. As you see, 223 officers were killed in the line of duty last year in 2023. But across the country, law enforcement officers, we kill ourselves more than anyone else. Annually, the number of police suicides far exceeds the number of officers killed in line of duty. Traffic collisions where maybe the officer was not driving as safe as they could have while responding to a call. And heart attacks. And that's what took Captain Cowden. So as we recognize the next proclamation for mental health and mental health awareness, we have to think about what we have in our control and what we call internally what's important now. That's a win. So if I get the win every day and go home, come back the next day, that's what I want. So thank you for recognizing the police department, Police Week, and for all the support that you give us every single day.
Very good. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know you well enough to know one of your the primary objective is all your officers come home each night, each day. And so I think that's vitally important, and I appreciate the fact that you put a priority on that. And also, let me just compliment you too on your entire staff. When crime has been down, I believe it's a little over 30% year over year, and so that tells us that you guys are out doing your job. And preventative work is just as much effective as reactive work, and I think you guys have done a certain job of doing that. So it tells a lot about our community, about you, about your department, that crime is down, and we want to keep going that direction. So congratulations and keep it up. Thank you, Chief, for that.
Thank you.
Next proclamation will be on mental illness, and that will be read by Eric Crowley.
And the proclamation reads as follows. Whereas mental health is essential to everyone's overall health and well-being, and whereas mental illnesses are real and prevalent in our community, and half of us will have a mental health diagnosis at some point in our lives. And whereas all citizens experience times of difficulty and stress in their lives and should feel comfortable in seeking help and support to manage these times. And whereas engaging in prevention, early identification, and early intervention are as effective ways to reduce the burden of mental illnesses as they are to reduce the burden of other chronic conditions. And whereas there is a strong body of research that identifies mental health risks and supports specific tools that our citizens can use to protect their health and well-being. And whereas recovery is real and possible, and all citizens should know that support and help is available. And whereas each business, school, government agency, healthcare provider, organization, and citizen have a responsibility to promote mental health and well-being for all. Now therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa does hereby proclaim May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Be it further resolved that the governing body of the City of Ottawa also calls upon the citizens, government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools in Ottawa, Kansas, to recommit our community to increasing awareness and understanding of mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health, and the need for appropriate and accessible services for all people with mental health conditions. Signed this 8th day of May 2024 by our Mayor, Michael Skidmore.
We'll do another one here.
One more.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, and city staff for recognition for May as Mental Health Awareness Month. We are, again, so fortunate in our community to have our wonderful community partners with the Elizabeth Layton Center, Advent Health Ottawa, our community policing unit, the 988 statewide and nationwide suicide prevention hotline, and certainly as our call takers, our dispatch center, Franklin County Emergency Communications Center, who sometimes are the first to receive a call of somebody that may be in crisis, and then begins the process for us as a community to respond to help them. Diversion of mental health calls away from law enforcement has been a priority for me. It led to the creation of the community policing team with our crisis corresponder. And certainly the benefit that has provided the community in the last couple of years is definitely visible and needed. And all of the crisis responders that come from ELC to help us out as well, including those that work at the Advent Health Ottawa Emergency Room, are so critical to providing support for those in need. Mental health is severely underfunded across the country, but in the state of Kansas for the last few years, it has been a priority, and there has been an increase in funding dedicated to that, and we are starting to see good results of that. So I hope that trend continues, because it does mean that we are able to reduce police calls, jail population, family issues, family suffering from the effects of a mental health crisis. And what we want to do everything we can to prevent those from happening so that the family doesn't have to live with or recover from those events. I also want to note that since it's law enforcement and accepting this proclamation, that jails in the United States, including our Franklin County Adult Detention Center, are the #1 provider of mental health services in the United States because of our jail populations. Our jail works with people who are incarcerated, gets them in contact with a mental health professional, and ensures that if they are in custody, while they're there, they do receive the mental health treatment that they can, and referrals after they're released to continue that follow-up care in hopes of not having them return to the jail population. So on behalf of all of our mental health professionals in the community, thank you for recognizing this, and again, thank you for the support and funding necessary to provide the services that are so critical to the community.
Great. Chief,
Thank you.
well said. Thank you. Especially Elizabeth Layton Center for all the help that they do for our community. And I often think sometimes, the brain is just as much a part of the body as a leg or an arm. If you break a leg, you break an arm, you go see the doctor, right? If your brain's broken, you go see a doctor. Different kind of doctor, but still a doctor. And there's a stigma, it seems like, that we got to get past sometime when we can get through that. Until then, it's going to be frustrating for many people to accept that need for mental health. But so I appreciate the fact you bring it to our attention, and I think we need to do this every year for this purpose. And so thank you for your comments. Appreciate it, Chief.
Thank you.
Good job. We'll go on to next one will be, let me look here, proclamation recognizing May 24th as National Bike Month, and that'll be read by Commissioner Zach Clayton.
Proclamation reads, whereas the bicycle is an economical, healthy, convenient, and environmentally friendly, sound form of transportation, and is an excellent form for recreation and enjoyment of Ottawa's scenic beauty. And whereas, through the month of May, the residents of Ottawa and its visitors will experience the joys of bicycling through educational programs, commuting events, charity events, or by simply getting out and going for a ride. And whereas, Ottawa's roads and trail systems attract bicyclists each year, providing economic health, transportation, tourism, and scenic benefits. And whereas, creating a bicycling-friendly community has been shown to improve citizens' health, well-being, and quality of life, boost community spirit, improve traffic safety, and reduce pollution, congestion, and wear and tear on our streets and roads. And whereas, Franklin County Health Communities Initiative, the League of American Bicyclists, schools, parks, and recreation departments, police departments, hospitals, companies, and civic groups throughout Ottawa will be promoting bicycling during the month of May. And whereas, these groups are also promoting greater public awareness of bicycle operations and safety education in an effort to reduce collisions, injuries, and fatalities, and improve health, safety, and comfort for all travelers. And now, Therefore, the governing body of the City of Ottawa, Kansas, does hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 as National Bike Month in Ottawa and urges all residents to participate in this special observance. Signed, the 8th day of May 2024 by our Mayor, Michael Skip.
Well, thank you, Mayor Skidmore and the city council members. And, I just want to say a couple of things. One is I want to thank the city as well as the county for continuing to make Ottawa one of the most bicycle-friendly communities in the entire state of Kansas. And I think we're also seeing that Ottawa has become a tourism destination, not just for people in Kansas, but for people all over the country. We see it every week. People come here to enjoy the trails, enjoy Ottawa, and many of them discover what a great town it is. And we've even had people that have ended up moving here because of their initial visit, to ride their bike here. And it really is an important part of our community. And I think the continued focus on that is much appreciated. And hopefully over time we'll continue to see more and more, especially with some of the work that's being done to the trail. And I think we will see it. I think we'll see people coming from all over and discovering Ottawa as a bicycle-friendly community. So I want to thank everyone, and I'll happily accept this proclamation on behalf of the cyclists that enjoy what we have here in Ottawa. So thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, appreciate your business. I know I bought a bike from Jeff, I think about last year maybe, and it still works. I just need the operator to get on it more often, I suppose. That would make a difference. But we really do have a great trail system here. I often mention this, how we have two trails intersecting here, and what a geographical blessing that we failed to promote enough. And I think it's important we should do that. I agree with you. I do drive by Legacy Square and I see out of county, out of state cars parked there. I know they're on the bike trail riding. And also glad to hear that I know the trail going west, the Flint Hills, the bridge over the railroad tracks will soon be built, and maybe, I don't know when the completion date, sometime this year, I believe. And I'm looking forward to that. That'll certainly aid in the assistance of getting where you want to go rather than go on country roads where it's kind of dusty and a lot of traffic sometimes. But it really is a great thing we do. And I'll also mention with Jeff, I appreciate a friend of mine came from out of town, and Jeff rented a bike for him as well. And so if you need a bike to rent, you got a place to go for that as well. It's a good place to go. So he's got a great business. He's a retired banker. It's always nice to know there's life after banking, right? I appreciate that. You encouraged me. So thanks a lot, Jeff. Appreciate you being here. Keep up the good work. Move on to, is that all the proclamations or need more? That's enough? Okay. We got it? Very good. Consent agenda. We've got the minutes from the April 24 meeting, the minutes from the April 29th meeting, as well as the minutes from the May 1 commission meeting. Do we have agenda approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there a second? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Thank you. We'll go on to declaration. I'd like this time to give the commissioners the chance to declare any conflict or communication they've had that might influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Hearing none, we can go on to unfinished business, which there is none, and we got lots of new business, looks like. So we're going to be reviewing the 2025 operating budget. Here we are, we're already into the budget season. Finance Director Landis, Public Works Director Hafley will give us a demonstration. That's not the word. Not a proclamation, but a, what do you want to call it?
Well, education, how about that?
There you go.
All right. So I think that I think that maybe I sent you the wrong PowerPoint. So with that said, maybe I'll just do a budget overview of first before we dive into the stormwater fund, because I think that's important to make sure that we have an idea of where we're headed for this. And I apologize, it would have been a better educational piece for you if I had sent the right one. So, but basically, let's start with what is a budget. So when we dive into the budget season, we're thinking about all the different things that come together that put together the parts and pieces that include planning and services, property taxes and multiple revenue sources and the mill levy, and making sure that we're following all of the regulations. And when we put all of those things together, we look at them individually, and then we have to look at them as a whole. And all of those things are impacting, everything that we look at is impacting our residents here and the ultimate budget that we put together. So our budget is all about the services, and our services include a wide variety of things, but to name a couple of them, that's fire safety and law enforcement, streets, parks, and open spaces, support of our community service agencies, our utilities, development and planning for all of our spaces, administration, and our library. Some of the planning that we do or that we use include the goal settings that we have, not just at the commission level, but then also within the departments and those divisions within each one of those departments, the 5-year capital improvement plan, the utility rate studies, the pavement management plans, master plans and studies, the comprehensive land use plan. All of those things are also used to make sure that what we're presenting to you meets our goals that we have set forth in all of those documents. When we're looking at our expenditures and those services, oh, fantastic. Okay.
But I think the momentary pause is important because she'll lay out the foundation as to why things are budgeted the way that they are, and some of the reasons why you can do some things in some funds and can't do some things in others, and how all of this kind of rolls up into a larger picture to provide the services that our citizens and neighbors deserve, and that we're honored to provide each and every day.
There we go. I'm good if you're good. Okay. So and now you get to see the pretty colors. So, but just to back up a little bit, so it includes all of these things that we talked about. Again, all of the services that we provide. And I know I've repeated it for you, but this will be hopefully something that we'll post out on our website so that our residents can see kind of what we're using to put together these budget plans for you. And then when we're talking about revenue sources for each of these services that we bring to you, we're looking at a variety of things from grants and debt financing to sales tax and motor vehicle taxes and franchise fees, liquor taxes, and charges for services and our utilities. All of those things we're forecasting and pulling from multiple resources or sources in order to determine what those resources are going to be. Ultimately, in our utilities, determining if the rates that are set for those utilities are adequate, or in our mill levy funds, whether or not the property tax and the mill rate is set appropriately. The budget calendar, to kind of start at the beginning, is over the last couple of months, we've been preparing all of this information, gathering it. We're still in the mode of gathering some of it. We've brought to you the capital planning piece of it already. We're still finding things as we go through the detail pieces that we may want to make adjustments for. But your staff is reviewing all of your division, the division budgets, and for 24 projections, what was budgeted for 24 and what we plan to actually happen in 24. And then we're developing our 25 budget, which includes looking at all the programs, the functions and activities, creating a narrative and budget highlights for you to review, which is new to your packet today. That's not a document that you've seen in the past. And then reviewing all of those budgetary needs with your city manager. And I say the word needs, and I emphasize that because in every one of our budgets, that's exactly what we talk about. Is this a want or is it a need? And I can tell you just from being here a couple of years and maybe from the history before that, not anything that you see is just a want. It's something that's needed for the utility, needed to be able to provide the same level of service that our customers and our residents have come to deserve and expect. And that's what we're trying to put together so that we can make sure we can continue those services for them. The next set of meetings is where we're here today, and we'll talk about stormwater today. These are all of your non-property tax funds, the ones that are your special revenue sources, your utility revenue sources. And so this is our schedule leading up to the middle of June. We're going to meet weekly with you to discuss each fund, one fund each week, and so that you have an opportunity to study each one individually and ask the questions that you need to without trying to pile them all into one session. The rest of the calendar is really focused on the property tax or mill levy portion or supported funds. And these include our new process as of 2021, which includes the revenue neutral rate discussion and needing to approve whether or not we're going to stay at a revenue neutral rate, whether we'll be exceeding that revenue neutral rate, and then the county then sending out the notices of our public hearing and that expected mill levy rate for the public hearings to everyone within the city limits. And then our final budget adoption. So this will happen in September. That's the first 7 p.m. meeting that we have. That is after the date that the state has set. So anything after August 20th, you can approve. This is the first 7 p.m. meeting that we'll have. So September 4th will be our public hearing, not only to determine whether we need to exceed the revenue neutral rate, but also for budget adoption on the same evening. Do you have questions about the process at all? No?
Commissioners, we're good?
No? Okay. Well, then I will dive right into the stormwater budget. And I want to note first that Director Hafley is your subject matter expert here, and so all of your questions he will be able to answer, no pressure. But also, he's done a really great job of outlining a lot of the information that you need within, not just the budget memo that was in the packet, but also the narrative sheet that accompanies the budget detail and the summary revenue and expenses, as well as the fund balance graphs that are in the packet. So a lot of that information is there, but mostly what I'll do here is just hit some of the highlights, and then if you have specific questions, we can circle back around to those. So the purpose of the stormwater utility is for to fund the capital projects and enhancements that we need to our stormwater collection system to ensure that the city is maintaining compliance not only with KDHE but EPA regulations. And our stormwater runoff has become increasingly important for local governments, and the city of Ottawa is required to protect the Merdazine River from waterborne pollutants. And in 2007, the city developed a stormwater master plan, and within the memo that was provided for you, there are several projects that have been accomplished. There are some that have not yet been accomplished. And in the middle, and where we're at now is, we've mentioned this to you, the need for us to go out and do a study of our actual levee system and whether or not those pump systems and the tow drains need attention before we move ahead with any future infrastructure projects in order to address any concerns there. So that is included in your budget as well. It's one of the budget highlights that we'll cover. The rate structure that's set for your stormwater utility was adopted in 2012. And it is broken down between residential and non-residential. And at the end in 2023, we had about just under 4,700 residential customers, stormwater customers, and 418 commercial customers. And something that we've talked about is that stormwater fee is not something you're collecting when there's nobody in the business or in the home. If there's no services set up or receiving a monthly bill, then you're not receiving a stormwater revenue off of those properties at that time either. The structure, while probably adequate when it went in place in 2012, it doesn't currently cover all of the expenses that we see that belong with the stormwater utility. For example, we need to replace a street sweeper, and we can do that. But if we were to add back the cost of the operator for that street sweeper, which is currently paid out of the general fund, the rate structure itself, year over year, funding an employee out of this fund would not be able to cover all of those expenses and future capital cost and anything that's needed in order to ensure that we're meeting all the standards. Some of the budget highlights that are here for you is the capital project we've covered with you was the Mulberry and Dundee intersection improvements of about $145,000. We do offer an annual citywide cleanup. It's actually offered twice per year, so we budget about $25,000 in costs for that annually. In 2025, we have the grant match for the PASS study, or the Planning Assistance to State study, which is going to tell us if we have adequate capacity of our levee pump stations and our tow drains. And then also, we have been reserving funds each year. We've been reserving about $25,000. In 2026, we need to replace the current street sweeper. And in order to do that, we've increased our annual transfer to reserve those funds, so we'll be able to pay cash for that street sweeper when it's purchased in 2026.
Say while we're up on the citywide cleanup, I think it's a great thing we're doing, but the 25,000, what does that go toward? Where does that money go?
That money is for the trash service to bring dumpsters out here and haul them off. It's also for the used tires that get hauled off. And I had those numbers. They evidently didn't make it into the
Oh, that's right.
the presentation, but that's where all the money goes for those.
Okay. It just seemed kind of high price. Of course,
Is there
everything
labor
seems high to
also?
me.
Yeah, employee labor.
Employee labor as
Yeah.
well as
Oh.
the staffing for our assistance with the county dump day as
So
well.
at the transfer station, I guess they charge us to take it out there as well.
Historically, in the spring, we've been able to do it with the county allowing us to dump out there for free. So we're paying the contractor with the dumpsters that you see at the sites. We're paying them to haul the trash to the transfer station. In the spring, since the county doesn't do a countywide spring cleanup, we have to pay for the trash being dumped. I'm still working on that.
Okay. All right, good work. Well, it's certainly needed item. I'm glad we have that every year, twice a year, and that's important, so I want to keep it going, but I didn't know what it cost. Okay, thanks.
On the screen, there's a lot of numbers, and I don't expect us to go over each of these individually, but there's a couple of highlights I wanted to share with you. So included in here are our capital improvement line, our capital project line, as well as some reserve for what we're calling an undesignated stability outlay, which in our past terms would have been kind of a reserve for future capital improvements or to give us some flexibility within that budget. So for example, because the past study came up and was able, we needed $100,000 for a grant match, making sure that we've budgeted our flexibility within that fund to be able to accomplish that within any given year. Those types of things are the reason why we would budget for that. Our capital projects right now, in the CIP, we originally presented to you that there would be two capital projects, both the Skunk Run improvements and the Oak and Poplar. However, we are recommending that we move those back to a future planned project and wait for the results of the past study and determine if there are improvements that are needed to those pump stations as well as the tow drains before we engage in any of the bigger projects. And so once we get that back in 25, then we'll be able to better bring to you a plan for timing of those additional or future improvement projects. You'll notice in the bottom graph there for you that the fund balance is fairly stable. Our total expenditures annually on average are resting right around $800,000, but that doesn't include any capital projects at this point. Off of that, our target fund balance would only be about $170,000. But the reason you have a fund balance here that's rolling, and it's important to keep it there, is those future projects that we're talking about. Any infrastructure project is never cheap, and what we have on the table is something that we're definitely going to have to plan ahead for. They can't all be done at one time. They may not be able to be funded fully, given the priority that might be assigned to them. So more on that as we get that past study back and determine where those might lie.
On the,
Go ahead.
like I say, on 2025 proposed, we see contractual services, 266,000. I guess that's accurate. That's not a misprint. All the others are 166, 250, and I just see that 200 kind of jumped up there quite a bit.
That's right. That includes the $100,000 for the grant match
grant
for the
match.
planning assistance
So that's-
study.
Okay, so that'd be so with the grant match, and they're producing some money into it, and then we're putting the rest, is that? how that-
Yes.
Okay, I
Yes.
got you. All right.
And I think we've basically committed up to 100,000. We don't know exactly what that might
It could be somewhere in that
be.
range.
Yes.
Okay, so, any question?
Oh, just kind of following that, on those kind of other contractual services, is that just kind of a placeholder again for other design stuff that we need as projects arise or as things kind of come up?
And that includes our PEC contract as well
Okay.
for stormwater engineering.
And then on that study, will it really just be levy specific, or is it levy plus stormwater kind of throughout streets, roads, the whole town?
That past study is levy specific to the pump stations and the tow drains. And the reason we're doing that is because the pump stations that are on the levee are 1960s technology. They've been in place since 1960, basically, and we need to know if they're still pumping to their capacity, which myself and several other people who don't have engineering degrees don't believe they are. So that's why we want to do that study, and to make sure that we can get rid of the water that's coming down Skunk Run, that's coming down Possum Run, and all those other places. So we need to make sure we can get rid of the water adequately, as opposed to what we think we're not being able to do now. So that's the reason that's the reason we've asked the Corps for the study. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay,
Did you say Possum Run? Sorry.
yeah.
I
Possum Run's on the north side.
learned something new today.
Where the levee pump station
Uh-huh.
is, that's Possum Run that drains into that.
Oh.
All kinds of animals and.
That's-
Okay.
I didn't name it.
Okay, that's all right. All right.
All right, so this is really completes the presentation on stormwater. We're not approving anything today, but certainly if there's something that has come to your attention during our discussion, again, in the stormwater fund, everything that we spend out of the stormwater fund is funded by user rates and that revenue stream. We don't share those revenues with other utilities, and we don't subsidize this stormwater utility with funds from other places either. So keeping that in mind.
On that, the new stormwater management plan that we have to write this year, do we have any other kind of, I guess, outside, or is that just kind of in-house designating areas where either our crews or people kind of report standing water issues when there's heavy rainfall?
So the stormwater management plan is directly tied to our MS4 permit through KDHE. So when KDHE gives us our permit, and our new permit in October, that tells us what we have to do to maintain compliance, we'll then tailor a stormwater management plan to meet those guidelines.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions or comments related to the
I'm just gonna ask
stormwater
about the
fund?
rate. I know it's $4 per ERU, the equivalent residential unit. And do you recall the last time we've had a rate increase, and are we due for one? I'm not afraid to raise rates if we need to. We do a disservice to our community if we get too far behind on it. So I'm just asking on it, roughly speaking, is that okay? Or is that adequate, or do we need to raise that?
I'm glad you mentioned that. I think it was put in place in 2012, and it has not been raised since then. Is it adequate to complete all of our capital improvement projects that we need to do? No. Does it need to probably be looked at and have a study done? Yes. We have not done that. And I do think, however, that having this past study done and then going back and reevaluating and prioritizing some of those infrastructure projects would give us a much better base to have that conversation about what it should be and then determine what we want that stormwater utility to be able to accomplish.
That's good. I think that's a good idea. And that is itemized on our utility bills every month, right? This, okay.
Yes.
Good. Very good. All right, any other questions of Melanie on this? Looks good. We're good. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess we'll go on our city manager comments.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, well,
We saw it for a second, okay.
and what we'll start with is an update on the situation at 10th and Borough and the engineering assessment that was completed by the city engineer to replace that 54-inch drain. It was the 54-inch brick drainage tunnel, essentially, that created a sinkhole when its hole was compromised. And the calculations reflect that two 30-inch 6 HDPE corrugated drain pipe laid side by side will address the flow necessary. So our street crew is currently removing the remaining tunnel debris and placing the 36-inch drain pipes into place once complete. And then, weather permitting, we expect the road to be open sometime next week once the project's completed. And you can see for the extent of the damage, but then also kind of where it's located, and between Cottonwood and then Lincoln, and you can actually see where that flow is at, where the compromise occurred, literally in the middle of the intersection. I want to bring some additional information on a re-energizing of the homeless coalition, and so we hope to have a meeting date and activity report presented at a future meeting once a date's established. And we have Director Neese and Commissioner Allen representing the city, as well as Chief Weingartner. I want to notify you that we had a request for proposal for nuisance mowing, and we're in the process of working out the contract with the best bid, and we had required 3 days mobilization upon receiving notice, and we expect a roll from May 1st to December 1st of this year as needed. And with that, you'll notice that the last comment is that Director Neese has adjusted the workflow schedule for the 2025 RFP so that it's released earlier in the season and we can begin that sooner. We required a liability insurance, as well as we had our bids opened and then that agreement. So we'll provide additional updates as the service is utilized. Want to highlight the Ottawa Police Week activities that we have going on in town the week of May 13th through the 17th. On Monday, the 13th, we'll have the Ottawa Police Department Awards Recognition Ceremony at the OMA from 6 to 8. We'll have Tuesday, May 14th, the Police Foundation will receive donations from Pizza Hut, so that 20% of all of the profit from that period of time from 12 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. on Tuesday, May 14th, will be donated by Pizza Hut, the franchisee, to our police foundation. And then on Thursday, May 16th, we'll have the draws for paws at Not Lost Brewing there at 225 South Main, where the proceeds from that event will go to support our police K-9. Then want to bring you up to date on our utility crews are working to prepare the pumps and chemical feed systems at the pool this week in anticipation of beginning the fill process on Monday, May 13th. And then give you a review of our budget calendar that you saw portions of this afternoon. Next event will be our wastewater utility fund presented on May 15th. And of course, our big target dates are the final budget review on July 17th, and then the Planning Commission hearing for the capital improvement program on August 7th, with an adoption on September 4th at 7 p.m. Then I'd like to point out our two new hires, and we have Officer Woodruff and Officer Jeffers, and those are our two newest city employees, and they come to us with the police department, and so we're grateful to have them serving us and look forward to working with them throughout a long and prosperous career. With that, I'll turn it over to the governing body if there are no questions for staff or myself.
On the 10th and Borough, does that typically come from stormwater or streets, or a mix of both when something like this happens, that stormwater causes an issue?
It would be the stormwater.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Very timely to look at the budget. Did somebody plan that? Okay. Any other comments, questions? Very good. Thanks, Brian. Very good. Let's go to comments by our commissioners. Commissioner Crowley.
I have none.
Yes. Commissioner Clayton.
Just following up on that, I think, like you said, it's timely that we're looking at that budget, and, you always see funds kind of remaining in a budget or kind of pocketed away. And I think this is a good reminder of kind of why we have those. So when situations like this that are unexpected come up, we have funds available to repair the road, repair this, and keep those roadways safe. Would like to welcome the new hires, and congrats to the police department for getting some more folks in. Hopefully we can get fully staffed that. And then just following up on what Melanie said, or Director Landis, that these PowerPoints will be available online for people to review as well, because there's a lot of great information, not just during these meetings, that people can peruse at their own time. And that is all I have.
Very good. Commissioner Kaler, you have any comments?
No, I just have a short comment, and I just want to highlight the importance of the two proclamations that we had today that had to do with, one was indirectly due to, or with mental health, and one was directly about mental health. And I don't think that we can highlight that enough, about when you're in a stressful job, when you're in a stressful space, certainly mental health can become a struggle, but mental health can be a struggle at any age, for any gender, for any nationality, for any person. That can be a struggle. So, and it's not, it's a strength if you ask for help. And so I would encourage people to ask for help if they need it. That's actually the reason that I'm not present today, because I work in the mental health field, and I was out helping someone. So it's important to make sure and take care of yourself, take care of your body, including your brain.
That's good. Well said. And yeah, take care of yourself too, Sarah. I know you're doing a good job out there helping our people. So thank you for your service in that area as well. Just a couple things I've got. I know there's a lot of potholes are starting to show up. And Michael, would you tell us what people need to do to report potholes where they are? Because we can't be the eyes and ears of everybody. We have to have reports, people reporting in. So what should people do if they see one?
People see one, excuse me, they can always call the street department at 229-3656, or they can call the public works line, which is 3630.
Very good. Appreciate that. I know.
And they can also email us at publicworks@ottawaks.gov.
Very good. All right. Thank you, Michael. We're going to be busy with that, I know, once everything dries out, so no doubt about it. I just wanted to mention that We are going to be starting proclamations for our centenarians. That's a hard word to say, people that turn 100 in our community. I've got one I'll be presenting on Monday, May 13th. It's to Mary McMahon, and she will be 104 on Sunday. And I got looking up how many people reach over 100, and it's 1.7 per 10,000. So in Ottawa, maybe there's 2 that are over 100. And so we want to certainly honor her. Her family will be here on Monday with a reception, so I'll plan to get her proclamation written for her and present it to her on Monday at Rock Creek at 10 o'clock in the morning if anyone else wants to come. But anyway, sounds like an exciting time. I have to admit, part of it's self-serving because I want to know what these people do to live that long. So I'll be asking a lot of questions, and I'll bring all the information back to you guys. So we'll see what she says. I also want to say congratulate Ottawa Main Street on a great event on last Saturday. They had a Piccadilly auction. Some of you were there, I think. I see in the crowd there, I see Ryland. And so it was a great event. I had no idea they would have that many people sign up for it. I don't know how many paddles they ended up, 170, I think. I haven't seen that many paddles since 3rd grade. But it was a lot of people there. And so I was glad to see a good response. And I don't know how much money she raised, but I know she did a good job. So congratulations to Sarah. We should get an update, hopefully maybe next time on see how that went. So great time. That should be everything we've got today. We've got announcements to be May 15th, our next commission meeting, as well as May 22nd, when we continue to talk budget stuff. So looking forward to that. If there's nothing else come before the city commission meeting today, we are adjourned.